How the emotions after that, Dave?
Good. I'm proud of the guys because I thought, we're obviously very disappointed last night when the result didn't go away, and I think there was a real risk that, emotionally it was. We didn't pitch up today, and we definitely didn't get that. I mean, to scrum them over last play of the game on their ball, I thought the effort was excellent from the guys. So, I'm proud of that, which was good.
Did it change when you going into today? Like what you said this morning to the guys?
Did it change?
The result last night, obviously having a bearing on the season, change what you said to the guys this morning?
No, look, I mean, we spoke this morning about wanting to finish the season on 0 points difference, because I think that's pretty indicative of our year. We lost 4 games on the last kick of the game after the hooter, and we could be sitting here with a totally different story, and I think the fact that our points difference is that close, that was our goal, and I think we missed it by, 3 points or something. So yeah, I'm proud of the way that we finished.
Dave, we just saw the interview. Do you understand? How are you feeling that emotional weight?
Yeah, you guys haven't made it easy for me here, Christy. Listen, look, I don't want to embarrass Pup, but I think what really meant a lot for me is after your article came out, Tom, Pup came in the next morning, closed the door and said to me, listen, we're all behind you, whatever. And that's why you coach, it's that sort of stuff. You've got the backing of the players. We know that I think a few things gone differently here and there in different games, and we're sitting in a very different situation. I thought last kick of the game against the Reds, Pup unfortunately missed it. I thought Dickie Hardwick won a clean penalty against the Brumbies to win that game. Lonergan got it. He started it. By the way, James Hansen was sent to the bin. They scored a penalty try that was definitely not a penalty. They got there from Michael Wells's infringement at the line-out. That definitely wasn't a penalty. So that's how close the game is. We've also gone through, I guess, the season without sort of 9 or 10 of our most experienced players. Dane Petty, without Campbell Magnay for most of the year, without Cameron Orr for most of the year. Brad Wilkin only recently came back. And there's a long list of those guys. So I'm really proud of the young group that started the season to get us to a place where, it came to the last kick of the game. Unfortunately, we missed out, but I'm definitely proud of the effort.
It's going to be it's a couple of weeks now before Trans-Tasman, 2-3 weeks, and that's always the board getting itchy. It's never a good thing, but how much do you want to just stay here and show your worth throughout Trans-Tasman and see the Rebels continue to build?
Chrissy, look, without sounding flippant about it, I think we run a good rugby program. I know we run a good rugby program. I think the challenge you have with Melbourne is you have some external challenges that other teams don't have, and we have to work that bit harder and we have to be that bit better to beat those teams. And I knew that when I took the job on. It's not something I'm telling you I'm figuring out for the first time. So in a way I went to Melbourne because I knew as a young guy, I think I started there when I was 33, I'm going to grow out of that experience, and I am growing. So I'm not sitting here, I don't get anxious about it, I don't stress about that sort of stuff because I'm getting what I signed up for, and that's perfect. That's what I want, and I think we're moving forward. We are, as a club, a lot further down the track than we were this time last year.
You've played under a lot of coaches. Dave, are you confident in the direction under Dave?
Yeah, 100%.
That's an unfair question for him, Christy.
100%, yeah. I understand you got asked that, but yes, I am, and I know we all are. We also understand the chat around. It's essentially people wanting results, and we're not getting them at the moment. But it's a short-sighted view to think that you just change one thing and it's not the way to go forward. So we're behind them. Doesn't say we've got to make some improvements in our program, 100%. But Dave's our guy, and he's the one that we want leading us.
A lot of the criticism was that not enough tries, not enough experience in rugby. In the Super Rugby AU competition, where you're trying to win some awards and so forth. Going into the season, clearly we're going to take the good points and offer, moving behind that game plan.
Yeah, look, early in the season we were away from home, and we try to take the points when you can, because the refereeing decisions usually pan out. So when they're there, you take them. So it kind of panned out. Probably the first 2 games that sure, we went for points and we didn't score many tries, but I think we showed in the last few weeks that we've got tries in us. I think the big thing for us this year was that we're just missing so much, so many players really, and so much experience, because that's what you need in those games when they are, one within a play. With one play or one score, you need experience, and we didn't have that. Tonight, you could just feel it. Even just having a few more guys out there tonight, you could just feel they knew the plan. Ross Haley calling our lineouts, he knew where we were strong, where we were going, and how we were going to close this game out. So I think that's what we really missed in those tight games earlier in the season. It's fine margins, very fine margins, obviously.
I think, Christy, to put it in perspective, we didn't train in our home base until middle of March. We didn't have one training session on our own field until then. And even now, we don't have control over the field time because we share the field with another team. And we don't have our own gym because of COVID. We're not allowed to share that space. So we have to drive another 30 minutes to another gym. So at the start of the season, we had to train out at Latrobe, and we were really lucky. I mean, they're great partners of ours, but that's a long way from the city in Melbourne. And on the back of that, someone like Matt only trained the week before the first game. Reece Hodju was training the whole pre-season at fullback. Suddenly had to move to centre because Louis Holland did his hamstring. Dane Halapi wasn't training. Pono Famasili had a calf injury, wasn't training. Isi Nesarani came out of the Wallaby camps injured. Matt Gibbon had a double shoulder Rico, wasn't training. Cameron Ord wasn't training. There's a long list of things. And so we sat there and said, listen, we've got this really inexperienced team that has to start the season for us. And how are we going to be competitive in order to squeak into the playoffs when some of our more senior players start to get back on deck? And we missed it by a point, with a very, very, I think the average number of caps in our team is 12. If you compare, as I said to you in the week, if you compare our team that played against the Highlanders a year ago, almost today, there's no Jermaine Ainsley, there's no Anaru Rangi, there's no Gideon Kuchlenberg, there's no Matt Phillip, there's no Angus Cottrell, there's no Tom English, there's no Billy Meeks, no Andrew Callaway, there's no Isi Nasarani until tonight. There's a lot of turnover, and some of the other teams that have experienced that same turnover as us have fared a lot worse than us, So I'm proud of the fact that the guys stuck to it and almost squeaked into the playoffs when those more experienced senior players were coming back. Unfortunately, we missed it by a moment here and there, last kick of the game, and that's what it is.
What's the expectation for Trans-Tasman?
We want to win. I think we can win. I think one of the things is that the rugby is a very different type of rugby. I saw a try there the other day. It was a play around the line-out where I just don't think in Australia that you would score that try at the moment. I thought the defence was quite poor. Now, obviously, there's a hell of a good rugby players here and that, but the focus there is a little bit different to some of what we're doing, and it's going to be a good battle because, as I said, we beat the Highlanders away last year. I think the Brumbies beat the Chiefs away. The Reds got very close to beating the Crusaders. The gap is not as big as people make it out to be. And I think there's a lot of teams playing some good rugby now and a lot of good young talent in Australia. So it's actually a very exciting time for us.
Just your thoughts on the Reds. A couple of weeks, not normal. A little bit hard done by.
Yeah, I thought once Hunter went off, that actually changed the game for them. I don't know if he did his jaw there or something. It looked. I hope it's not too serious for him. But they've really played some great rugby this year. And again, there's the value of keeping a group together for a long time. How many of those players debuted under Nick Stiles? I think a lot of them. So that's a group that's, even though they're quite young, have played a lot of rugby together. And that's the model for our club. What happened with us is we were doing all of our recontracting during the bye week last year, and that struck exactly the week that COVID struck, and contracting was frozen, And so I reckon if it had been 24 or 48 hours later, a lot of those players would have been able to stay, And unfortunately, take Matt Phillip, for example. He obviously wanted to stay because now he's coming back, and there's others that are going to come back. But at the time, it was impossible for us to keep them because the contracting was frozen, And it was just a timing thing. I think the real positive out of it is, Matt Phillip goes away, so now Trevor Hosea has suddenly had, 10, 15 games or whatever he's had. He's called a line out for the first time last week against the Force. He was calling against Jeremy Thrush, All Black, and Sitaleki, a Wallaby, And, had Matt been around, maybe he doesn't get that opportunity. So in the long run, it's actually going to be really positive for us because those young guys are getting starting games and things and being pushed to do things that maybe they otherwise wouldn't do. But we've got to fight hard to get those guys all back now and back on deck and continue from where we left off. Thank you, guys.
Cheers, boys.